Okay, it's Monday morning. It's gorgeous out. Forgive the camera being a little askew. It's rocky terrain here. But I like this spot because I have a lot of flowers and stuff behind me, and see all the bees are back there, pollinating, gathering pollen. So, I just thought it'd make a nice background. Hopefully, I'm not going to get stung. Anyway, this is going to be a video that rightfully it should upset a whole lot of people. I'm going to get right to it. It's insane. I have told you guys before, and I don't know if the majority of you think it's just a conspiracy theory or you're down with it or whatever, but I feel that there's a directed and concentrated effort to emasculate men in this day and age, particularly in our society here, trying to emasculate men. I think I see the same thing going on in the UK. Oddly enough, you don't really see this happening in third world nations. So, it's not really good news, man. When you think about it, all the environmental endocrine disruptors that have our test levels here at just about half of what they would have been or should have been had you been born 50, 60 years ago. Those effects are not as detrimental or not as concentrated, and you don't see correlating decline in testosterone and sperm count in third world nations. Why? Because they don't have the technology or employ the technology in the amounts that we do. They don't have as many endocrine disruptors, environmental endocrine disruptors bombarding them from every which way, from the deodorant you use to the toothpaste you brush your teeth with, to all of these radio waves, radio frequency waves, these microwaves that are passing through your body nonstop, 24/7. Smartphone that you carry in your pocket next to your nuts. Just on and on and on and on and on. It's in our foods, food additives, pesticides, laundry detergents. It's in everything. It's way out of hand. It's such huge proportions now that I don't. What can you do now? You try and protect yourself. What are you going to do? And no matter what effort you make to try and stay healthy, you're still going to have. You can't get around these waves passing through you 24/7. So you have these first world nations where the leaders of the free world, literally, that the generations of men that are going to be born now and hereafter will continue to experience these declines in testosterone levels. And this is why this shit floats today, where they try to tell you that there's multiple different genders, more than just two, and you have so many dudes want to wear dresses now and put on a pair of pantyhose, They wouldn't have pushed this agenda back in our grandfather's time or our great-grandfather's time. But, by God, they can do it today pretty easily and make us out to be the bad guy. So, toxic masculinity and the like. Well, now we've got this story. A juvenile, young man, 15, 16 years old. I believe he's 16. He was held or being held at the Los Angeles County Juvenile Detention Facility for some undisclosed offense. Obviously, it's not anything really crazy over the top, or else it would have been major news. But in disregard of why he's there or where he's even at, the biggest thing that should have been major news is that anyone would force a child to undergo this kind of therapy, treatment. So there's a new thing in town, and I don't know how new it is. I've just caught wind of it, and it's ODD. We have all these disorders today. We have names of all these different disorders to explain away everything that people experience and go through, and every other thing. And this one is called Operational Defiant Disorder. Operational Defiant Disorder. Isn't that sweet? And this is not, there's no medical facts, studies, or anything to uphold this. This is an operating theory that's already been placed into effect and practice, and they're treating this as if it's a real thing. And so in this case, we have this 16-year-old young man. He's in the Los Angeles County Juvenile Detention Facility, and he's awaiting, I don't know, some kind of a judgment from a court. And his second day there, day number 2 there, apparently he's belligerent, and he's bucking, and he's defiant. He doesn't appreciate being restricted, locked up. Again, he's 16 years old. So, like I said, second day in there. Second day in, they take him and evaluate him, and they medically conclude that he has ODD, Operational Defiant Disorder. Okay, Operational Defiant Disorder, the theory is that high levels of testosterone, there's a correlation between adolescents with high levels of testosterone and juvenile delinquency. Is this bothering you yet? There's a correlation, they believe, between high levels of testosterone and juvenile delinquency. So did they test him? Did they test his testosterone levels to see where he was? No, they did not. Although this ODD, Operational Defiant Disorder, is theorized to be a psychological disorder, did they psychologically evaluate him in any way? Give him any kind of psychological testing? No. And I think very key to this, very telling, is they didn't even check him out to see what his testosterone levels were. They just concluded and diagnosed him by unspecified means. They arrived at the conclusion that he has this ODD, Operational Defiant Disorder. And so what did they do? Well, they prescribed him medication for it. He refused to take the medication because they wouldn't tell him what it was. They wouldn't tell him what it was, so he refused to take it. They then made it very clear and informed him that he could not refuse any prescribed medication there. That he could not do that. He didn't have the right to do that. That he had to comply. So because he's awaiting some kind of judgment or decision or hearing in the court system, he didn't want to make it worse on himself, so he finally folded in and said, okay, I'll take it. So he started to take it. Well, within fairly short order, he began to grow breast tissue. He, clearly had gynecomastia come on fairly rapidly. Now, turns out that what they were giving him was estrogen. They were treating him with estrogen. Estrogen. They want to bitch and complain and cry because we men have low T, and so that we can continue to work for a living and provide and protect and do the things that we need to do and live out the remaining years, hopefully decades that we have, with some enhanced quality of life or better quality of life. There are people that would scream and cry and holler about us taking testosterone, using testosterone like in our age. But yet, very quickly, 2 days in, they diagnose him with this theoretical psychological disorder, Operational Defiant Disorder, and they immediately prescribe him estrogen. Don't tell him what it is. Now, did they ever consult with his parents or guardians? No, never. So he starts taking this prescribed medication, begins to develop breasts. The other juvenile inmates housed there, of course, are making fun of him in the showers and erect time and things because it's very obvious he's growing breasts. Parents come to visit. They clearly see that he has some kind of an abnormal growth on his chest. Right. So then when they get all the information, that's what it turns out to be. They just unilaterally decided that he had this disorder, this theoretical disorder, and that they should treat him with estrogen and that he had to take it, and they didn't even tell him what it was, and they never consulted his parents. So, needless to say, he has one hell of a lawsuit in the works right now. He's got a lawyer on top of it. Where it'll go from there, we don't know. I gotta grab this. All right, I'm back now. I've lost all my light. Gotta move again and relocate. Anyway, that's all I have to talk about at the moment. There's always more. I could ramble on and on, as I'm sure you're well aware. But it's just a huge mess, man. Everything going on in society today, the last thing that we need, and what's going on in the world, last thing what we need is the eradication of men, the emasculation, unwillingly, of men. All right. The demonization and eradication and emasculation of men. Never thought I'd see it. Where it's a bad thing. Bad thing to be a man. You're supposed to feel guilty and shit. Toxic masculinity.